For what purposes Putin used the Eastern ceasefire, and what plan for Ukraine's capitulation did Donald Trump propose? This and other topics we will discuss right now. My name is Irina Uzlova, and today with us, as regularly, is Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. Michael, hello, glad to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Good evening, Irina.
So, Russian dictator Vladimir Putin said he supports any peace initiatives to end the war against Ukraine. According to him, hostilities have resumed after the Easter ceasefire. Russian propagandists quote him as saying, Russia is positive about any peace initiatives and expects Kyiv to have the same attitude, Putin said to his propaganda reporter Pavlo Zarubin, but believes that Ukraine was prompted not to reject peace initiatives. So, Michael, why does Putin continue to accuse Ukraine of what he himself violates? Doesn't he understand that such messages of him are an informational failure?
Well, these messages were not going through American media or world media. If you paid attention, so in world media and between world politicians, almost nobody mentioned Putin as the initiator of the last ceasefire. For example, State Department of United States, they said we support the idea to continue for 30 days the ceasefire of Easter. Yeah, and this was the idea of President Zelensky, not of President Putin. President Trump, for example, he didn't mention anyway, not in his social network, not in his interviews, he didn't mention Putin as the initiator of ceasefire for Easter. And this is very important sign, yeah, because generally President Putin speaks a lot about President Trump speaks a lot about Putin, and he has very good attitude towards Putin as a dictator, and he says this is my friend or this is good guy or something else. But also Witkov didn't say no word about the Putin's initiative for ceasefire. So it is very difficult now, and now Putin put himself to a very difficult situation. Because yes, he started the initiative on ceasefire for 30 hours for the Easter. Yeah, that's true. But afterwards, in the answer, President Zelensky said not only 30 hours, let's do that 30 days, why not? And this is Mr. Putin who said no to this offer. So this is Mr. Putin who renewed the war after 30 hours. And this is Mr. Putin who started again to bomb Ukrainian cities with Shahed drones and with missiles. So now for Mr. Putin, it is the time to make any explanation of this. So he put the responsibility for Ukraine and for Zelensky. This is the reason why he says that.
So Donald Trump keeps calm because he understands that Putin is breaking the truce and all ceasefire, yeah?
President Trump didn't say what he understands and what he don't understand, but he, like European Union, for example, in its official position says, we don't believe to Mr. Putin. Mr. Putin is not trustable, and we should just see and to think about that. What is our attitude towards these ideas of Mr. Putin? And Mr. Trump does not say that, but he thinks the same. I don't trust Putin. I should see the result of his initiative. And there is no result. As you see today, April 21st, we have a full-scale war between Ukraine and Russia.
Yes, and according to Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, the total number of violations by the Russian army of the Russian promise of silence for this day, yesterday, was 2,935 times. We see such the largest number of shelling and assault actions was in the Pokrovsky direction. So, in general, what was the main goal of Putin's so-called 30-hour ceasefire, and how did Russia exploit it?
Well, first of all, it is obvious that the ceasefire didn't work, as we see, and it was predictable because when we don't have any peacekeeping forces, foreign forces, so any ceasefire will not work between Ukraine and Russian Federation. But the more important now is political, not the military aspect of this ceasefire, but political aspect of this ceasefire. And political aspect is Russia is stopped this ceasefire, not Ukraine. This is the main political aspect. Why they started that? They started that after United States, by its representative, Mr. Rubio, as state secretary, and afterwards also President Trump said that. They said that this week is the last chance for Russia and Ukraine to stop a war, and they will judge. They will bring the judgment who is in charge of this war after this week, and they will stop the negotiation process. They will stop their participation in negotiation process. And then United States says we will stop our participation in negotiation process. It means that negotiation process also stopping, because there is no another participants. There is only two negotiation processes between US and Russia and US and Ukraine. There is no process between Russia and Ukraine. So obviously, if Americans withdraw their diplomats from this peace process, so there is no peace process, and the war continues. And Mr. Putin fears that President Trump and its administration, they will, in very bad position. They will have to say, "Wow, Russia now is responsible for this war." They never said that. They never said that before during almost 100 days. But if Russia does not agree to very, very easy conditions, very simple conditions, to stop a war for 30 days, so there is no way to say anything else for example, on the meeting of President Trump with Senate and Congress. Nobody will believe that Ukraine now is responsible when Ukraine agreed, and it was proclaimed very loudly, and it was also written agreement between the United States and Ukraine that Ukraine is agreed for 30 days ceasefire, and the next step is the agreement between the US and Russian Federation. And Russia, during 40 days, this process started on March 11, during 40 days, Russia did not agree to this ceasefire. So obviously, we could say that, okay, this is the responsible side, Russian Federation.
Yes, and only Russian Federation, dictator Putin, and all Russian people who support him in this cruel blood war. So, Michael, now, when Donald Trump has seen that Putin is one and main person, who has ruined his all plans to end the war in one day, to end the war before Easter, what will Trump do?
Well, Trump knows everything about Putin, and he knows that from the very first day that he is the main obstacle for against his plans. Yes, obviously, but till now, the strategy of President Trump is to build the new friendship, new partnership with Russian Federation, and he says that openly. By the way. Just yesterday, then he published his last tweet about the peace process. He says, okay, I believe that this week Russia and Ukraine will sign the peace agreement, and Russia and Ukraine will earn a lot of money doing business with United States of America.
Yes, yes. But how? How? In 1 week?
The most important thing here is not how. Because we know that it doesn't work. This is not anything practical. But this is the first time when President Trump says what is his goal in this process. His goal in this process to make the businesses with Russian Federation.
Yes,
this is his goal. Not to bring a peace, not to stop a bloody war, but to make money from Russian Federation or with Russian Federation and for Russian Federation also. He never said that before. We heard that as rumors the rumors from the meetings between Mr. Vitkov and Russian representatives, President Putin, and with Kirill Dmitriev, who is the special envoy of Russian president. We heard that from Cyril Dmitriev, who is special envoy of Russian president, but he is almost not official face. He is just nobody. So we could not believe in that. Then White House commented about the phone call between Trump and Putin. In White House, nobody said that they discussed business opportunities. Nobody said. In Russian side, in Kremlin, yeah, they said that about ice hockey matches or something like that, ice hockey games. But nobody on American side before said we are speaking about business opportunities. But now it is about business. This is not about bloody war. This is about business. And this is the important point of this sentence of this post in Truth Social, or how I don't remember the name of Mr. Trump's social network, sorry.
Truth Social, it seems to me. But is it so terrible for us, such position of Donald Trump, only about deals and money?
Well, now we know it from him.
Exactly.
We thought about that. This is the difference. We thought about that. It was the version. We didn't want to believe in that. We didn't want to believe that the president of the most powerful country in the world think about money. Also for his country, yeah, money, not private money. I don't think about private money or corruption or something. But when you print dollars, you don't have to bring them from Russian Federation. And I will not be surprised if the next, in the next step, Mr. Trump will bring his fantasies about, building some hotel or Trump Tower in Crimea Peninsula. Because this is where he started when he discussed Gaza Strip with the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. In this very serious meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu about the war against Hamas, which is also very, very bloody war, and the war of more than 1.5 years. It started in October 23, now we're in April 25, so this is very, very long war. By the way, I believe it is the longest war in Israel history. No, I'm sorry, Lebanon war was the longest war in Israel history, yeah. But in this meeting, Mr. Trump brought the idea how we will rebuild Gaza Strip. We will totally transfer all the people from Gaza Strip to have 2 million people, from Gaza Strip to some no-name place, because nobody know where to bring them. And afterwards, we will ask our partners from Middle East countries to bring projects to rebuild the best place, the best real estate entity in the world, how said President Trump. So now I believe he will bring the same idea about Crimea, and I will not be surprised if the next meeting between Steven Vitkov and President Putin will be in Crimea and not in Moscow. We had the first meeting in Moscow, second in St. Petersburg, so now why not in occupied territories of Ukraine? And this is his ideas, his position, and his way of thinking. We're sorry about that, but that's a fact.
So when Wall Street Journal writes that Trump expects Ukraine to renounce Crimea and NATO, everything will be decided in London, maybe in this question, and Donald Trump expects Kyiv to respond regarding the recognition of Crimea as Russian and the refusal to join NATO, it seems to us that such statements and things can have and can be in touch with reality.
The idea about NATO, it is the easiest point, because it also does not depend on Ukraine. Ukraine could want to be part of NATO, but NATO could be against that, and we in Ukraine, we couldn't do anything about that in this case, yeah? So United States could sign the paper with Russian Federation that they will never get to Ukraine to be part of NATO. That's easy point, very easy point. And today, Kit Kellogg, who is now, I don't know who he is now, but official position is special envoy for Ukraine of President Trump. He said in his interview to Fox News that, I will bring part of our position, part of our approach, part of our position, part of this peace plan. And he says also about NATO. Why he speaks about NATO? Because it is easy to speak about NATO. But Mr. Kit Kellogg also didn't bring any idea about Crimea Peninsula, because it is against the rules of United Nations, for example, against all the laws, against all the traditions, against everything. And also against the will of Ukrainian nation. And Ukraine obviously will not agree to this point. But we have more important point here. Not only disagreement of Ukrainian side, but let's see the current position in all of this triangle, US, Russia, Ukraine. On the first stage of negotiation, Russians, they meet, Americans, they meet Russian delegation in Saudi Arabia. When it was, from Russian side, was also Minister of Foreign Affairs, Lavrov, and who was next? Some representative of administration of President Putin, and this guy, special envoy of President Putin, Cyril Dmitriev.
Yes, and Yuri Ushakov. Yuri Ushakov was
Yuri Ushakov as a deputy of head of the office of President Putin. So this is the really high-level delegation. This is not some bullshit. This is not some people who nobody knows and no names. This is high-level delegation. And the delegation on the same level like the American delegation. Because when American delegation, we had the chief of State Department and security advisor of President Trump and special envoy Witkov. So it was on the same level. Yeah. And afterwards, the next step was the same meeting of the same delegation from American side with Ukrainian, the same level again, with Minister of Defense and Chief of Staff of President Zelensky and with Minister of Foreign Affairs. So it is the meeting on the same level. And after a meeting between US and Russian Federation, there was no published any agreement and any results of this meeting. But after the meeting between US and Ukraine, they published the points which were agreed between Ukraine and US. And one of these points that Ukraine is agreed to the ceasefire without any conditions for 30 days. And another point is that America will supply the weapon and supply the intelligence information to Ukraine, and a lot of other points. So it was agreed. And one of the points was that on the next step, United States will negotiate with Russia these conditions. So afterwards, we had a lot of rounds of meetings between Americans and Russians. In Moscow, in St. Petersburg, in Istanbul. So the goal of these meetings was to conclude the agreement on these conditions, which were concluded between US and Ukraine. But there was no result. There was no result. The result was negative. And now, after all the events of Easter, it is obviously that this is negative answer from Mr. Putin. Nobody could say Mr. Putin is going to think about that. Nobody could say that now. So now, on this stage, Americans, they come to Paris and ask from Ukraine the new agreement. They asked from us one agreement and we agreed. And now they ask the new agreement. We don't know what is the condition exactly. We could believe to the information from Wall Street Journal or not to believe to this information. The important point that they ask us to agree to something which is not agreed with Russia. This is a position which is not agreed with Russia. So the first time, it was the position which was not agreed with Russia on the meeting with Mr. Lavrov, yeah? And now, this is also position which is not agreed with Russia, obviously.
And we see that
But
European leaders were involved in this process firstly.
Yeah, okay, but on this stage, as I understand the procedure, Americans, if they want some new steps from our side, they should bring something which agreed with Russia, which signed by Russians. When they started the process with Russians, they had our position, the open position, which was agreed with us. So now they will come with some new offer. New offer should be agreed with Russian Federation. And not something, okay, guys, it didn't work. What they gave us, it didn't work, so give us anything else, anything new. Stop. We could say, no, stop. Just bring some paper which is signed by Mr. Putin or by Mr. Lavrov, by somebody official from Russian Federation. We could believe that they agree for that. Otherwise, we agree for something, we are going to some compromise, but we don't know if they have the same compromise or not. So let's start this time from Russian Federation. First time they started from us. You started from us, and we agreed. So this time just start from Russia, not from us. Why from us? And I believe that European position is the same. And Europe also, in Europe, this is not like United States of today. United States of today is, for my sorrow, the state which has no international laws and doesn't follow any international laws. That's a fact. Because United States, at least on the speeches, etc., President of United States says that they want to take a part of Denmark, for example, Greenland. Part of Denmark to take and to seize it to United States. Absurd, but against any international law. So they also could bring the offer which is absolutely against international law. For example, to give to Russia some Ukrainian territory. But in European Union, it doesn't work like that. European Union is built on the law. It is built on the law. And by the law, and a lot of European sanctions is built on the law. And a lot of European decisions, and Europe has its parliament, Europe says the European Commission, which is the de facto government of European Union. And Europe is built on the laws. And Europe just can't say, okay, we will go against the laws. It doesn't work for Europe.
Yes, and we are based on law, and all countries in Europe too, but Russia will refuse all our proposals, and all proposals based on law. So what next after this week, after our agreements with USA, after our proposals, what will we see?
What is next? It is a very tough question because it depends on one person. For me, it's more or less obvious that we will not have any peace deal during this week, and more or less obvious that we will not have any peace deal during, let's say, this year, at least some half a year forward. Why? Because on the table was very, very easy offer, very easy, the most easy offer. Just a ceasefire for 30 days, and Putin refuses. So he refused the most simple offer, which could be. So how we could believe that more complicated offer could work with Mr. Putin? No, obviously not. And now it will be in the hands of President Trump. What is his next step? Because just in 9 days, or 10 days, he has 100 days of his presidency. And this is very important milestone, as if you know the American tradition. And he also will have some speech before Senate and Congress about his job on this position. And at least in everything which is connected to our war, he didn't do anything. Just there is no result. Marco Rubio says we made a great effort to bring the peace, but we didn't see any results, so the effort was not great, was not so great. Kit Kellogg says today in an interview that You know, President Trump, during 90 days of his presidency, did more for Ukraine than Democrats during 900 days. Sorry, but, you know, we didn't see anything that President Trump did for Ukraine. All the supply of weapon was supply which was approved by Congress and Senate in democratic times, and all the packages of military help, military aid also was approved by President Biden, not President Trump. So President Trump didn't do just anything for Ukraine. But there were promises by Mr. Trump, and his main promise, and he said that not once, but 3 times at least. He said, what will be his peace process? I call Mr. Zelensky and I bring the conditions, and if he does not agree, then I will stop the supply of weapon or something like that. And he did that. And President Zelensky and Ukrainian delegation, we agreed for everything. We agreed in Saudi Arabia. Afterwards, I call Mr. Putin, President Putin, and if he does not agree, so I will supply a lot of very strong weapon to Ukraine. And I will support Ukraine in this case. So this is now, it is the moment of the truth. Now is the moment when President Trump could make, as how he said that, his plan, or not to do that. So he has 3 options. First is to make, as he said, to put the new very strong sanctions against Russian Federation and the countries who make a business with Russian Federation, and to supply a lot of weapons to Ukraine. This is the first scenario. And it was the scenario with which he gave to the presidency, by the way, in presidency race. Second scenario is to say we not only withdraw from the peace process, but we also withdraw from the each thing which connected to this war. So we will not supply any weapon, we will not supply anything to any side. This is the second options, and he has also the third option, to blame Ukraine, to say this is Ukraine didn't agree, to give Crimea or something, and to be the friend and partner, business partner and military partner of Russian Federation. So this is 3 options. I don't know personally, I can't say now, because we know that Mr. Trump is unpredictable. And by his speeches, it is, I would say it is unresponsible, not so responsible to say, okay, I know what Mr. Trump will make, which decision Mr. Trump will make in 10 days. I don't know personally.
But can Trump remove itself at all from negotiation process, or no? Or this option is unbelievable?
From negotiation, it is the minimal thing which he could do, and this is almost 100% now. That they, Americans, they will withdraw themselves, all the diplomatic efforts, etc., from the negotiation process, because they lost that. And they know that. And Mr. Rubio said that, and Mr. Trump said that last week, that we have only just days to finish this deal. If we don't have a deal during days, not weeks, not months, days, so we will not participate in the continuation of this process. And without them, there is no peace process, like there was no peace process before Trump administration. So, yes, obviously he could. And here I believe that he will do that.
Oh, Michael, we have 3 or 4 scenarios. We have 1 week and more. 3, yes, okay.
Yes, because you know, about peace processes, it's obvious. If we don't have an agreement, and I don't believe we will have an agreement with Russian Federation, so Americans, they will stop peace process. The 3 scenarios is about the future after stopping peace process.
Oh, clear. Yes, understand. So we have less than 1 week, and then we will discuss the situation next Monday. So we'll see how right were we in this question. Thank you very much for these different options and for your thoughts, for your confident position to support Ukraine and us. See you next week. Take care.
Thank you, Erin. Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Sheitelman, political strategist. My name is Irina Uzlova. Guys, thank you for joining us, for watching. Left your comments under this video and subscribe to our YouTube channels. Sheitelman, direct link near this our video and interview, and to YouTube War and Politics 24 and 24 Ukraine channel.